Welcome to a Week 18 edition of Power Rankings. It is presented by Energizer. Mike Am and Eric Edholm with you. A complete list of all 32 teams, NFL.com. And look, Eric, sometimes you throw some stuff out on social media with regard to the rankings. I know sometimes you will take some heat. I just want to let everyone know, this is not the week. Happy birthday, Eric. I mean, let's just lay off any sort of issues that we might have with Eric's rankings. Let's give him a break this week.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Maybe 1 week. That's all I ask for. I'm not asking for any huge gift like that. So I very much appreciate it. And thank you guys for being so kind all season long.
Yeah. Well, has everyone been really kind? I think most people have. But I know some people are always like, hey, Eric, my team should be ranked a little bit higher. Here's the beauty of it. We'll just find out where these teams stack up, and we'll get to a Super Bowl. Let's get to the rankings. 1 through 8 top teams in the league. The Seattle sitting at number 1 could be the NFC's number 1 seed. The Patriots, this squad, curious what Eric thinks about this team's ceiling. The Jag, not mistaken, this might be the highest ranking that I have ever seen. Jacksonville sitting at number 3. The Broncos at 4. The Niners at 5. We got a Buffalo team that's dropped 3 spots into that 6th position. The Chicago Bears fall 1 spot to 7. And the Texans sitting at number 8. We will talk about all of these teams, but we start from a Seattle perspective here. How dominant can this team be once we get to the postseason, considering their defense, considering now that they could be a 1 seed, because we are set up Saturday for an epic showdown?
Yeah, if they win that, I'll feel a lot better about their chances. There's still some warts, right? This is sort of typical for the season. Our number 1 team has some major questions it has to face, specifically with the turnovers. There could have been more than what they had on Sunday against the Panthers. Still ended up multiple scores, still ended up taking care of business. That's how much explosiveness they offer as a football team. But a little worried about the offense, right? And 28 turnovers, second most in the league. So that's certainly something they have to cut down on. And this is obviously a big game against the Niners. They're going to have to be a little sharper on both sides of the ball. But when they get the run game going, that really portends good things for them. Sam Darnold plays a little more freely, and that defense, like it's been since the bye, can really shut people out and get after you.
Love this matchup because we got the stellar defense. We got a surging offense in the Niners we'll talk about, and certainly a ton on the line with the 1 seed in the NFC still in play. Let's get to future champions. It is presented by FanDuel. Taking a closer look at the odds to win the AFC. And you can see the Denver Broncos right now, still your favorites. The Bills not far behind. I think there's some love that's brewing for this Patriots team and a Jacksonville squad that, at least in my mind, is really scary. And the Houston Texans, both the Jags and the Texans, with odds of plus 550. The point is, these are not huge discrepancy in terms of some of these numbers. So when we focus in on this Patriots team, Eric, I look at this team as certainly a chance to get there, but I also see Drake May as potentially the league MVP, which is wild considering what we thought about this squad heading into the year.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the way he and the Patriots started the season, first 2 or 3 games, not so great. Everything since then has been pretty tremendous in what we saw against the Jets. Granted, it's the Jets. They haven't had an interception all year, but Drake May was in complete control, sitting on the bench with more than 20 minutes to go because it was such a blowout. And with Stafford struggling against the Falcons, maybe this shifts the tide. Maybe we put too much weight in the late season games, but he's been fantastic doing it with his legs and his arm. Stephon Diggs has been big. We'll see about his future, too. A little bit of question about him, but they're getting healthier on the offensive line. They're getting some help back on defense. Robert Spillane, certainly Milton Williams is going to help out a lot, but I still worry about who their first round matchup could be. I mean, you face a hot quarterback like a Josh Allen or a Herbert or somebody, that could be pretty tough for them. So May's got to be spectacular throughout and continue this in the playoffs. Otherwise, there may be a ceiling to what they can do.
Yeah, those margins real thin in the AFC. Really just all these playoff teams. Keep in mind, This is still a squad that's got an opportunity to be a 1 seed. Need Denver to go and lose against a Chargers team that's not going to be playing Justin Herbert. More on that in just a moment. Meanwhile, we got a Jags team that has moved up a couple spots right now. Are you with me? The ceiling is a Super Bowl win for this team?
Look, they have in this AFC field right now where, it doesn't have Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't have some of the usual suspects in there. The weakness on this side is a little more palpable than on the NFC side. Why not the Jags? Look what they've done since the bye week. They've been absolutely fantastic. 8-1, averaging almost 32 points per game. Trevor Lawrence playing with confidence. Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers have come up huge with no Travis Hunter. ETN has been a factor in virtually every single game. Very opportunistic defense, a lot like the Chicago Bears. They turn you over, they get extra possessions. That's really something they're good at. And also, 6-2 at home, 6-2 on the road. That's pretty nice as well. Played a harder schedule than I think Denver or New England. So they've really tested themselves. I don't know what's going to happen if they face a hot quarterback. Pass rush is getting a little bit better. Top 5 run defense. There's a lot of elements I like, and you have a kicker who can usually make it from anywhere on the field almost. So they've got all the ingredients you want. I think some of the biases, really, can the Jaguars go from the terrible team they were last year to potentially a Super Bowl team this year? I'm saying watch them play. Look at what happened the last half of the season. They've played as well as almost anybody.
Yeah, since that Week 8 bye, the wins just continue to stack up. They're one of the more prolific offenses in the NFL, over 30 points per game in that span. And you're right, this is a small market team who just figures out ways to get it done. I like throwing out that phrase there because Liam Cohen keeps talking it up, and one of our colleagues, Steve Weich, keeps saying, yeah, it might be a small market team, but last time I checked, London, not a small city. He calls them the international team with all these international games that they have gone and played. Yep. But this has been a really impressive year from a Jaguars perspective. And part of the reason why this narrative has looked the way that it has is because they got a win against the Denver Broncos in Denver. And yet this is a Bo Nix-led squad that took care of business. I know they beat the Chiefs. Is there concern, though, the way that game looked, not having a fully healthy Kansas City squad, that makes you pause here about what this team could be?
We saw 3 long drives from them. We saw them kind of control the clock, didn't finish off the first few, finally kind of got in the end zone and took control of the game. There's a lot of emotion in the air, possibly Travis Kelce's last home game. So, Chiefs obviously wanted to try to put a bow on a bad season, but I don't put too much stock into it. It was a little bit more of a struggle than I had hoped for. And then when like you said, go back to the Jacksonville game, the middle of that game was completely controlled by the Jaguars. So, whether this team has Super Bowl potential or not, I'm not sure, but they can get that path to the Super Bowl with the home field advantage. That's going to be huge. Their defense usually plays great there. Bo Nix has done a lot of good things this season. If they can get any semblance of a consistent run game, I think that's going to help them out a ton, but still going to end up falling on Nix a lot. They like to throw the ball. It's a Sean Payton offense, and when he uses his legs, kind of like he did against the Chiefs more than we're used to seeing lately, good things happen. I'm saying let's let it all hang out. It's the playoffs, baby. We're on the verge of this thing. Let Bo Nix cook.
Oh, by the way, if they don't get the 1 seed in it, fine for it, but if they do have to go on the road here in the postseason, does that change the calculus about how that path looks to get to a Super Bowl for you? Do they think they're good enough to get that done with road wins?
They've had some big wins this year on the road. They've faced a tough schedule, but not as tough as Jacksonville. So we'll see. Yeah, I think that obviously kind of hinders things a little bit, but like you said, they're in the driver's seat. If they get it, feel better about their chances.
All right, time for Team of the Week. It is presented by Truist. Let's focus in on the San Francisco 49ers, sitting at number 5. Brock Purdy's play has been nothing short of phenomenal over the last couple weeks, and they have a guy that could be your Offensive Player of the Year in Christian McCaffrey, and yes, they are still in play, depending on what happens against the Seahawks for 8th seed in the NFC. I get concerned about this team's defense. I like the teams that are maybe the entire package, but am I wrong here? Like, is San Francisco still one of the more dangerous teams? If they're a 1 seed, I don't know how you make an argument against them.
Right, exactly. I mean, if you have a team capable of putting 35 up without a problem, right, hanging 42 on the Bears after spotting them the 7-0 lead, no Kittle in that game, other guys missing as well. So, Trent Williams getting hurt early in the game and not coming back, no problem for them. That's how spectacular Purdy was. That's how great CMC was as well. So, when Purdy returned to the lineup, there was this doubt, hey, is Mac Jones the better option? Well, I think we've answered that now. He's been fantastic. And they do have 2 quarterbacks in case there is an injury. So there's a lot to like about that side of the ball. Your defensive concerns, like I have, I think are legitimate, but they've had some terrific games against lesser offenses recently, so it's built some confidence up. Look at the Carolina game. I think that was a big one for Robert Saleh and his defense. And they're not going to shut people down, but if they can hold them under 24 points, they're in terrific shape. And I think that's what you worry about is them having to face the Rams again, a really hot offense or something, or the Bears again. That could maybe change the calculus a little bit, but to your point, you get a bunch of home games, you're in good shape there, and this offense keeps rolling. Who's to say they can't be playing in Santa Clara possibly for a Super Bowl?
absolutely wild. If you watch Brock Purdy's press conferences these last couple of weeks here, he keeps talking about how Kyle Shanahan sort of set them up for this. Not only the success, but saying, hey, like this roster's a little bit different. You know, it's not going to be as easy. And it hasn't been, but they're on the precipice right now of a 1 seed in the NFC. You also used the term confident to describe them. How confident should Buffalo be heading into the playoffs?
I don't know. On the one hand, as we've talked about, this AFC field feels wide open. The Bills are likely to have the best, or, you know, depending on how you define it, the second best quarterback on that side of the field. I think there's a lot to be encouraged by after watching their defense gamely hold on against the Eagles and give them a chance to win that game. But for me, it's about finding all three units to work in the same game, right? Having this offense, defense, and special teams all functioning on a good or better level in a single game. It just hasn't happened often enough for my liking. So I'm not really a big play call complainer guy, but Joe Brady had a kind of a strange game for me. You know, Allen was trying to push the issue a little bit, force things at times. Look, it ended up putting them in a position to where they could have won the game, just missed the play. I have no problem with the 2-point call. So this isn't a loss. Again, this isn't a thing where I'm saying they're 1 2-point play away from being, you know, 5 spots better. But again, it's about playoff positioning, losing the division, ceding it to the New England Patriots and having to go the hard route, which could mean a third matchup in New England, another tough road to the postseason. So they're as talented as anybody, especially with Allen at the helm. But I still worry about the synchronicity of this team. Offense, defense, special teams all playing well at the same time.
I'm actually glad that you bring up the seeding here, because I think as it pertains to the Chicago Bears, I can story a path in my head where seeding doesn't matter because of their ability to win some of these close games and Caleb's playmaking in the last 2 minutes of the game, and I know they fell short against the Niners. And then there's a part of me that says, no, let's go through Soldier Field. Like that is really, truly the path there. How much is seeding in your mind as you assess this squad?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you just sort of think about the first round game could tell us a lot about what they're going to look like, right? Possible rematch versus Green Bay, team that's played them twice, tough this year. I know Green Bay's sort of being counted out in some respects, but, you know, that could be a tough matchup. What about having to play the Rams in the first round? Again, even with them losing a couple games recently, you still say that is a tough matchup. So, yeah, we'll have to see how it all shakes out, and I'm sure they're not going to be griping about 2 versus 3 or whatnot, but I think the biggest thing right now is getting the defense to a place where it's not relying on those takeaways every single game, where it has the ability to stop people and pressure the quarterback and contain better up front. That really concerns me a little bit. Got to get a little healthier receiver, too. I mean, they did great things with Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, Jade Walker stepping up. But I think for this team to be, you know, close to full strength, you got to have Rome Odunze and DJ Moore playing as close to full health as possible. Caleb's been great. Ben Johnson's been his bag. It's been fun to watch this offense hum. They're leaning on rookies. They're leaning on the new guys a lot. It's been a great season in Chicago. I could see, you know, a first-round loss, or I could see a run all the way to the Super Bowl. That's kind of the range of outcomes that's possible for this team right now.
Yeah, and to be fair, Eric, I think there's a couple teams that are in that conversation as well, where you wouldn't be surprised if they lose early, and then you go, oh, yeah, it makes sense that they got to a Super Bowl. In fact, I think our next team would fit the bill to describe that. Time for Power Moves, presented by Energizer. That team is the Houston Texans, who move up a couple spots here. You know, for a few weeks we used the phrase the team that no one wants to play. And I think a lot of that had to stem with their defense. And I know CJ looked a little bit better here against the Chargers, and he threw for a couple long touchdowns. I'm still concerned, though, about this team's offense in the postseason. Are you with me?
Yeah, no doubt, right? During the schemed portion of the play calling early in the game, CJ was fantastic, right? Helped him get out to that quick lead, a couple of big plays in the passing game. You also have to look at what he did in quarters 2 through 4. 10 out of 20 passing, less than 100 yards, 0 TDs, 2 interceptions. So, not saying they were trying to give the game away, but there was a lot of meat left on that bone, and that worries me a little bit, especially with a run game that can do. Justin Herbert was trying his best to get the Chargers back in this one, almost did it. Houston's defense is fantastic. We know what they're capable of. They can shut down virtually anyone here, but that's straight games where they've scored 20 points on offense. So, you know, even if it's some of the help has come from the D and field position and all that, takeaways, you still got to been able to give you kind of a floor offensively that's been pretty solid. And with their defense rarely letting people score more than 20 against them, it still looks like a pretty good formula to me. But I'm with you. There's just still some doubt lingering in my head, even if they are in that quote unquote dangerous category.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because you're right. Like, it doesn't matter how the points come, whether it's a Derek Stingley pick six or CJ Stroud long touchdown throw. Points are points, and that's going to help you go and get a win. But as far as like the team that no one wants to play in the AFC, I think it's a double check mark from a Jacksonville Jaguars perspective for me, and that conversation has certainly shifted over the last couple weeks. But Eric, there's more to come here on Power Rankings. There was a time where we felt like the Rams were the best team in the NFL. They're not even sitting in your top 8. We got an Eagles team that's also glooming as well. We'll take you through some of those squads and where they sit coming up next.
Power Rankings is brought to you by Energizer. Still going.
I'm back here on Power Rankings, Eric's teams 9 through 16. I cannot believe we were talking about the Rams on the outside of the top 8, but that's exactly where they are after losing on Monday Night Football. The Eagles move up a spot. They're sitting at 10. The Chargers will not be playing Justin Herbert against the Denver Broncos, giving him a little bit of a rest before the postseason. The Packers continue to freefall, 3 consecutive losses. The Steelers and Ravens playing for a playoff spot, as are the Carolina Panthers, who sit at number 15. And then we got the Minnesota Vikings at 16. All right, let's focus in on this Ram spot. They move one position down. All right, you lose on the road against Seattle. It is what it is. To lose against the Falcons, I think, creates a little bit of concern. Are you worried about 3 picks? I mean, MVP conversation aside right now, I'm thinking about where this Rams team, what kind of run they legitimately can make once the playoffs come around.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you could look at this and say, hey, Raheem Morris knows Stafford, practiced against him for multiple seasons, probably knew some tells and some things that would get him off track. But still, to have his worst game of the season, even without Devontae Adams, even with DJ Humphries struggling at left tackle, replacing Alaric Jackson, even with Blake Corum hurt in that game. And, all those things are factors, but the defense missing tackles early in the game, this long Bijan run obviously stung them pretty badly. I guess my biggest concerns are still on the defensive side of the ball. That's, there was some pressure there on Kirk Cousins, couldn't quite get home. Secondary's really missed Quentin Lake now for several games. So there's a few incomplete pieces right now that have me worried about this team's potential. I really dinged them last week for the loss of Seattle, given the seeding consequences of that, but didn't kill them too much, only the 1 spot down. But like you said, from 1 to 9, I still think they're a Super Bowl contender, but they have a lot to show up for now in this last game of the season, obviously, and then figuring out who they play. It's going to be a tough first-round matchup.
Yeah, I think the same can be said about the Philadelphia Eagles, who right now sit at number 10 on your power rankings. Philly, to me, has got a similar profile as Houston. Defense, I feel really good about, especially over these last couple weeks. I don't know if we've seen at all like the peak of this offense and the peak of their powers from this offense yet.
Second game this season, Hurts has gone 0 for 7 in the second half passing, and they've won both. Amazing to hear, but I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like you said, the offensive potential has been held in check pretty much, and defense has been pretty much smothering since the bye. Pretty fantastic for the most part. Had the blocked extra point that kind of changed the math in that game against last week against Buffalo. So, look, they haven't really faced a ton of playoff caliber teams that beaten them in the last half of the season. Only that one against Green Bay prior to this one in Buffalo. But if you look, all their toughest offensive games, they've come versus those playoff type teams or teams that were in contention until recently. So, if they beat the Rams in a thriller earlier this season, still likely facing a tough NFC West opponent when they come to the playoffs. And I don't know. Obviously, they won it last year. They got hot at the right time, but I don't know if I see the same firepower in offense and maybe the same caliber of defense. I mean, it's really, really good. Is it exceptional the way the Eagles were at the end of last year? I don't know. Still have a little bit of lingering doubt about their potential.
It's kind of wild, man, because the roster looks eerily similar to the last year's. And the
I know.
Results don't. The results are just not there. Meanwhile, when we're talking about this postseason, I know we've kind of mentioned how deep the runs could be. There's 4 teams for 2 spots that are still just hoping to punch a ticket into the playoffs. AFC North winner, they will get there. It's the Steelers at home against the Baltimore Ravens team. Still a little unsure right now about Lamar Jackson's status. Who's winning this game?
Yeah, great question. I mean, look, the Steelers had an opportunity. They missed it. Granted, it was a good Browns defense, but this was a pretty disappointing result. We know they beat them a few weeks back. I know they're capable of beating them. Is Lamar going to play? That's the big question. How effective is he going to be? I think if he plays, and I think he's going to give it a chance, Baltimore's obviously got to feel good about their opportunity here, but I still feel like there's some untapped reserves. They really did miss DK Metcalf. That was a problem on Sunday. They now have a week to kind of game plan and say, hey, what can we do offensively without him? I think they'll find a way, but it's not going to be easy, and I don't feel great about either team right now. So I'll kind of weakly go with the Steelers pick in this one, but I certainly could see Baltimore pulling it out.
Yeah, going with the home team, which I can understand, although Derrick Henry's sitting there going, what about me with over 200
Yeah, don't
rushing
forget.
yards? So, yeah, seriously, there's something that tells me, like, hey, he trying to tackle that dude at that size and that weather, not exactly a fun task. I mentioned 4 teams for 2 spots. The other 2 teams that are vying for it, NFC South winner. We got a Panthers team that's been really a roller coaster, and I don't think that that's been the case for the Bucs, because this has been what feels like a straight line down. Do you just feel more confident in Carolina? Is that the easier pick in this game?
That's kind of where I am, right? I'm not going to say that Bryce Young's going to have a good game or this or that, but he's been up or down, but he's capable of delivering those late game-winning drives. We saw in the first half of the season, Baker Mayfield was the guy on the kind of the receiving end or the winning end of those game-winning drives. Just haven't seen that magic from Mayfield. More mistakes down the stretch. Tampa Bay's defense has had some, major leakage. That's been a really big problem. Just getting Mike Evans back and getting this receiver crew healthy hasn't really helped them as much as you would hope. And it just worries me that they're a little careless with the football at times. And Baker just seems beat up, man. He's a great quarterback. He's had a great season, but he's been up against it. If the Carolina Panthers can get any pressure and really kind of affect his day, I think they have a good chance to win. Plus, they have the option of the Atlanta Falcons winning their game and getting them in, even if they don't win. So that's a bizarre little twist that kind of gives me a little added boost if I pick Carolina.
Yeah, just wild here. By the way, speaking of Baker, I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know when their season ends. And maybe it's this week, maybe it's in a couple weeks if they get to the postseason. I would not be shocked if we're hearing some news about Baker not being completely healthy. And I know most guys aren't at this point of the year, but this just looks weird to me. Carolina, of course, just beat this squad a couple weeks ago, razor-thin margin 23-20. More to come here on Power Rankings. You name-check the Atlanta Falcons. They got a Monday night win. Where do they sit in the rankings? And don't look now, but the Saints continue to find ways to get victories. Where do they sit? The answer to that is coming up next. I'm back here on Power Rankings. We got Eric's team 17 through 24. The Detroit Lions. They dropped 2 spots. They're sitting at 8-8 on the season. Explain what happened here. Meanwhile, the Tampa Bay Bucs at 18. The Colts at 19. We got a Dallas Cowboys team that sits at 20. The Falcons move up a spot because of a win on Monday Night Football to 21. Cincinnati, the Saints, and the Miami Dolphins at 22, 23, and 24. I want to love up the ATL here. Bijan Robinson is one of the most electric players that we have in the NFL. They got wins against the Rams and the Bills at home. Explain to me why they're sitting outside of the top 20 in the NFL with this type of talent.
Well, they lost to the Jets a month ago. That's been the confusing part is some of these losses have been absolutely horrific. And you say to yourself, how is this team 4-9 at one point in December? And when they have games like this on Monday night, still had to hang on, but their talent suggests that next year, if things go right, maybe they are a real threat in the NFC South. But man, so far this year, it's just been frustrating to watch them have the high highs and the low lows.
At this point of the season, Eric, you sometimes look for positives for the teams that are at the bottom of the rankings, and I think the Saints have a couple of those. Don't look now, but Tyler Shuck is starting to play some really inspired football, and they've won 4 consecutive games. How much are you buying this team with momentum heading into next season? Being
have to feel great getting they're possible the quarterback of the future with the 50th pick. And you're right, Shuck, they were patient with him. Spencer Rattler started the year. Chase Young has been a great addition too. So a couple of offseason moves signing him long term, but really Shuck sort of proving that he can be a pocket passer too. He's not just a guy who can use his legs and move around. He's looked good. I'm excited to see what he brings next year.
Yes, Chris Olave helping a lot of fantasy owners. Meanwhile, the rest of the rankings, the Kansas City Chiefs, wow, at 25. The Commanders, 26. We got a Cleveland Browns team at 27, still looming that sack record for Myles Garrett. At 28, it's the Titans, a Cardinals team that can't seem to get out of their own way at 29. That phrase can be used for the Giants, who don't have the number 1 overall pick. It's the Jets at 31 and the Raiders at 32. It's always funny because I think Giants fans are sitting there going, why can't we win some of the games that we're supposed to win, and the ones that we're almost okay losing, we figure out a way to get the W. Doesn't make any sense to me. Eric, Happy New Year and happy belated birthday.